So recently, I needed to get some supplies for my plants at the garden center and ended up with more than I bargained for. So I did the thing where I pick up cuttings from the ground because I'm crazy. How many more ones? Oop. Some more. Look at some of these already got the babies going. Yep. Yeah. The original plan was just to go to the garden center to get something to repot this succulent in, so that way hopefully it could have a second chance at life since it seemed to not be doing so well. I decided that I was going to give this perlite a chance to allow the succulent to get back on its feet and let the babies propagate a little. But of course, as with any trip to the garden center, I apparently have no control and have to check out the clearance section, which is where I found this orchid for $10. The only thing wrong with it was that it was missing a pot, so of course I had to bring it home with me. The plan is going to be to turn this bad boy into a water orchid, so I'm going to have to remove all of this medium, which was definitely a must because as soon as I took it all apart, you could tell that it was so moldy and would have ended up resulting in root rot for this otherwise beautiful and healthy plant. I've just recently become hooked on putting my orchids in water because with just a little bit of water at the bottom of a pot, there's enough for the orchid to drink and enough for the roots to get air without drying out. The blooms on this orchid are in otherwise fantastic condition, and I hope they continue to stay a little longer for me. Another exciting clearance find for me was this taro, also known as elephant's ear. I've never owned one of these plants and always wanted one, so I was really excited to find it in the clearance section. The root system looked good, and there was only one leaf that I'm going to have to remove, but let's see how this goes for me. Violet also wanted a little succulent of her own, so how could I possibly say no? And then, of course, there's all the succulent pieces I found on the floor, so I decided I'm going to take this Tupperware container and turn it into a healing center for 6 succulents and a propagation station. Just to keep things easy for these succulents, I'm just putting perlite in the bottom of this container and then slowly laying everything in there. I'm going to start with putting this jade plant that I've had for quite some time in this container to give it an opportunity to try to get better. I can't quite figure out what's going on with this one because it's not a light issue and it's not a water issue, but for some reason this baby is having an issue. So I'm going to take him out of the pot that he's currently planted in and put him in the perlite so I can keep a better eye on his root system development and his overall growth. I'm going to partner this plant up with some of the cuttings and broken pieces from some of the other succulents that I've had for a while to see if they take root as well in the perlite. And then on the other half of the container, I'm going to go ahead and add all of the new cuttings that I got at the garden center today. I don't generally do anything fancy when it comes to trying to propagate succulent cuttings because generally they're really easy to do. A lot of people like to dip them in rooting hormones or growth hormones, but I don't really think all of that is necessary. Sometimes all that you really need to do is put them on top of the appropriate medium and mist them with water every couple of days. I'm going to end up doing this every day because I am going to try to see if I can get some neat time-lapse footage of them growing. Don't hold your breath for this because sometimes it just doesn't work out for me, but I think it might be a cool idea to track their growth often, especially where some of them already have some little babies growing on the end of their leaves. I ended up having way more of these than expected, but I'm so excited at the idea of seeing how many of these will grow and how many huge succulent gardens I can end up with come the end of summer. I didn't expect to have as many of these as I actually ended up with and didn't have enough room to put in the small cuttings from this plant, but fortunately I had some extra pots laying around and just replanted it in that. Well, thanks for watching, and I'm going to keep you posted on how this progresses. Happy gardening!